think he asked Big Bill Brunsey. He says, Big Bill, that blues music you play, you call that folk music? And Big Bill says, well, I've never heard no horses sing none of it.
I told you not to mention wild folk dancing.
Oh Flossie, how could you treat me so? You caused me to wear the ball and chain around my ankle so. Oh, won't get drunk no more, I won't get drunk no more. I'll never get drunk no more. Way down the old plank road, 18 pounds of meat a week, liquor for to sell. How can a young man stay at home when the pretty girls look so well? I won't get drunk no more, I won't get drunk no more. I'll never get drunk no more. Way down the old plank road. My wife died on Friday night, Saturday she was buried. Now Sunday was my court day, but Monday I got married. Well, I won't get drunk no more, I won't get drunk no more. I'll never get drunk no more. Way down the old plank road. I want to see them pretty girls hop to Chattanooga. I won't get drunk no more, won't get drunk no more. I'll never get drunk no more. Way down the old plank road. I won't get drunk no more, I won't get drunk no more. I'll never get drunk no more. Way down the old plank road. Hot dog. Well, welcome everybody to Horses Sing None of It. None of it. Glad to have you aboard today. We've got a treat. We've got George Green here from Augusta, New Jersey. He's a little farther north, but he's doing some banjo work for us today. And Ralph Litwin here is one of the hosts today.
And this is Lou Gelfon, our other host.
Last time I looked.
Last time you looked. George is not only a banjo player, but he's a banjo and guitar builder.
Right. Yeah, I walked into his shop just to say hello and walked out with a brand new case. There I was, down there. I really needed one.
That's how you're supposed to do it. You figured that part out. You got the shopping part down. We were glad to have you up there, and I'm glad to be here. See you guys again. It's real nice to see both of you. It's been a long time since I saw you. Well, I saw you last week when you came up with your camera, but it's been quite a while since the days back on Schooley's Mountain.
Yeah, I wound up being stuck on Schooley's Mountain now, and I like getting stuck up there. It's a pretty place to be.
Good place to be.
You were down off Pleasant Grove Road, and you had a place kind of back off the road, and Susan and I went down there one time, and we were playing tunes. You had walls of banjos, it seemed. You had banjos coming out of everywhere.
Yeah, I got banjo fever. I still do.
Still do.
Still do. I can't get away from them. I don't try very hard.
Right. I remember it was starting to get a little too crowded for you then up in school.
Yeah, it was. But
you're saying, gee, once every 10 minutes a car's coming by, it's getting a little too crowded up here. I think we better get out of here.
So we moved on up a little bit further north, but now we got more cars up there. They moved some of the cows out and brought in some cars. So we're about even. And, you know, there used to be a lot of good folk music going on in that area in those days. It seems like it was a lot easier to find. And part of the whole deal for us is to get that kind of scene going again that was happening 10 or 15 years ago, and get more people interested in the kids and stuff. We're really into trying to get kids to play this old-time clawhammer banjo.
So you're a banjo teacher too?
Yep, we teach old-style banjo like you and I both play, and there's not too many people left playing that style, you know. And it carried us through the 10s, 20s, 30s, and into the 40s real good, and everybody did good in them years, and so, you know, we're trying to keep it alive, do a little bit of it, and as well as build the banjos that are used for this style of playing. That's our specialty up there. When I say ours, I'm talking about my wife too. She helps build these things with me, and she does all design work for the inlays and our engraving patterns.
So you're a real
things
team.
like that.
Both work on the same items, and we're going to turn them out.
Yeah,
we're going to take a little video trip up to George's shop a little bit later on in the show and get to see some of the banjo work that he's done.
Why don't we play a tune together here while we're here now?
Sounds good to me.
I think, what do you say?
Joe Clark or Blackberry Blossom? We're going to start out with a little Blackberry Blossom.
Let's just Blackberry Blossom.
Okay.
And then we'll jump into
Am I playing harmonica on this or not?
this is in the sovereign key. This is key. Sovereign key.
Are we ready?
Right.
Yeah, we kick off an old-time fiddle tune here that I first learned off a Blaine Sprouse album, so it was about 15
Off
years
the
ago.
what Sprouts?
Blaine Sprouse. Blaine Sprouse is a banjo and fiddle player from South Kentucky, I believe, and did some old-time stuff with Scruggs and them boys. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Vibrato on there.
Your vibrato there.
Yeah, this is my old Stewart I'm playing here. This banjo was made in 1888. Yeah, it's older.
It still makes kits too, don't they?
Yeah, but that's on to a different company. This guy was a Philadelphia maker, and I guess at some point in the 30s or 40s he sold the name on to somebody else, and they kept making banjos for with that name. But this one's this old piece of cherry wood that's made out of, and it's a German silver wrapped piece of cherry here that today probably couldn't do this anymore. It'd take a fortune to do that kind of work, but that's what gives this old banjo that sound. This was the first good banjo I got back there, and about 20 years ago now. And,
I took a banjo up to you, and you pronounced it hopeless. it was a neck that died from one banjo, and it was the pot that kind of died from the other banjo. It was a guitar banjo pot, and it was an old time neck, and they had been forced to play with each other.
That's right.
Forced to be melded together.
And you could tell at first look they didn't want to be there. But,
no,
what are we going to do?
I packed that one away, I tell you.
So, you know, we want to keep this sound going here with these banjos, and how about we try another tune on here? An old Uncle Dave tune that I first learned off a record of his back about 15 years ago called Old Joe Clark.
Right. Uncle Dave was one of my first influences too. I started listening to him back in, I guess, 1966.
Well,
even though he's passed on, he's still a personality.
Yeah.
There was
Big
even
influence
a
in old-time
Broadway
music.
show about
That's
about
right.
him a
There
little
was a
while
show.
back.
You
and
catch that show?
There's just
Pretty good.
Yeah, I did. And
I
there's
saw
just been a new album released about 8 months ago that are recordings that Uncle Dave did in his home just a couple of weeks before he died. And there's
No
about
kidding.
30 cuts. And the recording quality is real poor. But for anybody that really wants to learn what the old-time clawhammer banjo is all about and wants to hear it in the hands of a master,
You can
know,
still pick
Yep.
a tune off.
get
while
out
he's doing
there.
it.
Oh yeah, you can figure out the tunes and you can figure out the words if you take
Mhm.
time to and stuff. And you know, Uncle Dave was probably the best clawhammer banjo player I ever heard for sure, and probably the best one there was.
I guess we should also say that first song that we came in with, that was Uncle Dave.
Right, yep, that was the Uncle Dave tune
composition
that I learned off
Downhill
a
Plank
Sid
Road.
Harkreader album, who was a fiddle player that played with Uncle Dave back some time ago. And I got an album of his and that tune was on it. That's the only time I've ever heard that one. Except now we hear it commonly in the bluegrass festivals played in a bluegrass style, but it's an old time tune from a while
Let me ask
ago.
you, how come you have all those inlaid moons? I feel like I'm getting mooned by a banjo.
You are. Well, that was one of
pretty.
Stanley Stewart's trademarks. He liked moons and stars, and all his banjos contained moons and stars. He made banjos for sheiks in the Far East and wealthy people in Europe, and most of his banjos are still found in Europe and other places than the United States. He made probably 30,000 banjos in his life,
30,000?
which was quite a feat for a man that made banjos in that time. But he had a factory in Philadelphia and employed several people and was a man of the times, he called himself. And well, it's still here, you know, 100 years later, his banjo's still here. And so I'm just glad I got it. Glad he was there 100 years ago to make it for me. I know it was me he had in mind when he built this banjo. And so here we go, okay, for old Joe Clark. 1, 2, 3, 4. 16-mile mountain road, you got 15 miles of sand. If ever I'm traveling this way again, I'll be the married man. Fare thee well, old Joe Clark, fare thee well, I'm bound. Fare thee well, old Joe Clark, goodbye, Lucy Brown. Invited me to supper. Well, I stubbed my toe on a table leg and then I rubbed my nose in the butter. Old Joe Clark, preacher's son, he preached all over this place. The only game that he ever knew was a Queen Jack King and ace on the line. I went down old Joe's house, old Joe was not at home. I ate up all his meat and bread and I gave his dog a bone. Fare thee well, old Joe Clark, fare thee well, I'm bound. Fare thee well, old Joe Clark, goodbye, Lucy Brown. Got 16 horses in my team, the leaders they are blind. And every night when I go to bed, there's a pretty girl on my mind. Fare thee well, old Joe Clark, fare thee well, I'm bound. Fare thee well, old Joe Clark, goodbye, Lucy Brown. Now, I would not marry the old school teacher, I'll tell you the reason why. She blows her nose in old cornbread and calls it pumpkin pie. Fare thee well, old Joe Clark, fare thee well, I'm bound. Fare thee well, old Joe Clark, goodbye, Lucy Brown. Fare thee well, old Joe Clark, fare thee well, I'm bound. Fare thee well, old Joe Clark, goodbye, Lucy Brown. shake the cobwebs out.
Shaking those cobwebs.
Shake her
those
out,
silly-
shake her out. Well, that sounded real good, man. I'm real
So
proud.
what's this last project? When I went up there last time, you were making banjos. You had some banjos, some pots that you were doing. You're
Yep.
still working on that stuff?
Yep, we're making banjos. We're hoping to make. We made 27 banjos, I believe, last year, and 14 guitars and about a dozen mandolins.
Cranking them out.
Yeah, pretty good, huh?
Why don't we take a quick look at your shop?
Yeah,
and
well,
see
why
what
don't we
see
hop
what
in?
it looks like. Let's
Hop in the old Studebaker.
Studebaker,
and head on up to
head on
Augusta.
up there.
It's the video time machine.
Yeah.
You really gonna make banjo next out of that
Yeah,
stuff?
that's what that'll be.
No kidding.
Yep, this piece of mulberry will be make some mulberry banjo next, which come out real yellow, sort of mapley but browner. This is a piece of maple that we'll make some guitars out of next. And black walnut will be mandolin and banjo next. A friend of mine just brought this stuff up from up in New York State. It blew down with that tornado we had on his farm. He's 93 years old. He went out and cut it and loaded it in his wagon to bring it down to me. Plays an old Paramount 4-string banjo that we keep fixed up. It's older than he is.
So it's okay to just leave that stuff laying around in the snow like that? Won't hurt it.
because it's real green. So what I'll do is once it thaws out, which it's probably been doing the last few days, once it thaws out pretty good, then I'll put it up inside.
Well, speaking of green,
And
this is George Green. And we're here at Candi Creek Banjoworks. So George is going to show us inside the shop too.
Yep. The hallway of fame. We'll put your picture up in here no matter what you done. Even if you didn't do nothing, the post office wants it in, we'll do it for them too. We're community minded. This is one of my prize pictures here. That's little Roy Lewis's Lewis family downstairs in the shop. We fix all his Martin guitars for him. He's a riot and a good friend. And he's helped us along the way. Sends us some customers and talks about us on the stage and plays our banjos for us and road tests some of our new ideas and stuff. And that's our Bruce Kunkel handmade sign.
All right.
Pretty nice job. He and his wife make those signs up for folks. Made that for us.
Yeah, I know Bruce a long time.
Yeah, Bruce was the first guy I met when I moved to New Jersey, just about.
When was that?
That was in 1965. I moved to New Jersey from Mount Juliet, Tennessee.
No kidding.
Yep. I was born in Culpeper, Virginia, and my folks bounced back and forth from Tennessee to Virginia and then came up to New Jersey, and that was the end of the line. We stayed here ever since.
Bruce was just recently moved to New Jersey at that point too, I think.
Yeah, I think so, and I met him down in Hackettstown.
I was the first banjo player he met when he moved to New Jersey.
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah.
That was cool. I met Bruce, and he was playing a banjo on the street. I was back down in the Morristown days when the Thirsty Ear was there, and there was lots of good stuff going on down there. And Bruce was a real fine picker, and
He was good.
I drove him nuts. I didn't play then. I repaired instruments at that time, but couldn't play a lick, and convinced Bruce by sheer harassment that he should teach me how to play the banjo.
All right.
And it worked. It worked real good. And the teaching part, I don't know how well that worked, and we can find out about that later. But it worked good for me as far as it started me out in this whole deal. Instead of just repairing them and sending them on their way, now I could play some too. And so I
To
could
look around the shop here, we've got all kinds of interesting instruments here. So, some kind of electric lap steel over there.
Yeah, we got some old lap steels, a couple old Gretches. First Gretsch electric lap steel ever come on the market, 1951. Real nice piece with genuine tortoiseshell binding you don't see no more. And of course, let's not forget the genuine mother of toilet seat inlays that we have there that they used a lot back in the early 50s on a lot of these instruments. And we got some old 4-string banjos here, and an old clawhammer banjo with a real calfskin head. This right here, our Mississippi Gambler 5-string bluegrass banjo that we make right here. My wife designs the inlays and the peghead profile, all original patterns, and then we manufacture them right here from start to finish. We hand engrave the hoops and the hardware, and then we send them out for plating. Hand engrave our tail pieces and then have them plated. We use Pacific mother of pearl and abalone and all wood products in our banjos. We have our custom dobros.
Is that right? You customize these?
Yeah, this dobro is customized here with the original Tree Life pattern that's back from the old Wayman banjos of the 1890s. Used this pattern, and that is one pattern that has been copied through the years. Many different makers have used that Tree of Life pattern.
It's pretty. Okay, well, we're back now, and George has brought in one of his guitars that he built right here, and he's going to give us a tune on it. You want to tell us a little bit about this guitar before you give us a tune?
This guitar is a Brazilian rosewood with a spruce top that I built about 3 years ago, and while it was in my shop waiting to be picked up by a customer, somebody came in and knocked it down and broke it in two. So
now it's yours.
I glued it back together, and that became my guitar, you know. At least I got one of my own instruments, you know. That's a rare thing. And I'd like to play a little tune that I wrote about 2 years ago. That I went down to Virginia, where I'm from, and ran into some old friends that I'd gone to school with and things like that had been to Vietnam same time as me, although we weren't there together, and they were doing real poorly and had a lot of problems from it, psychological and physical, and I wrote this tune about, they were also musicians, I wrote this tune about them guys, and I guess it's a little bit autobiographical too, being as that I was in much of the same situation for many years of my life. And here we go. This is called The Guitar Man. 1, 2, 3. Well, you can't see the scars on his heart, but they're there just the same. And tonight he'll get one more, but the whiskey will drown all the pain. It says it don't know what happened. It might have took place in the Vietnam War. And when he gets home tonight, I might find all his clothes at the door. Yeah, he stole from the good life, never thinking it'd have to pay back. Ain't nothing seemed right or wrong. Ain't nothing ever looked white or black. You see a ship in a bottle, oh, it's locked up and destined to fail. It just sits on the table with no wind or ever feel up to sail. Why don't you pick me one now, Lou? He tries to hide from his feeling, but they always slip back in his rhyme. He's learned that life in the fast lane means nothing but slow death in time. He says he don't understand it, hell, he don't see no reason to try. And when he gets behind closed doors, he takes a drink, kisses his ass goodbye. You see a ship in the bottle, oh, it's locked up and destined to fail. It just sits on the table with no wind to ever feel up the sail. Goes back to the D. It just sits on the table with no wind to ever feel up the sail.
We had a tune up our sleeves, I think Washington Lee Swing, that we were going to pick out together.
That's what we're going to
grab your
do.
banjo, I'd love to play it with you.
All right.
Well, George, has Augusta been good to you up there?
Well, Augusta's real good for me.
You've got some kids running
Yep,
around there
well,
now?
we got 3 kids up there. We got one that's 4 and one that's 8 and one that's 9. I'd like to say hello to them. Hi, Travis, Chrissy, and Candy. And this tune's for you guys. Washington and Lee Swing.
Candy is the oldest, is she?
Candy's the youngest.
She's the youngest, and you
Yep.
named the banjo store after her.
Yep. Yep, we got a little creek running down the side of our property, and ever since she's been let out of the house without a leash, she's been found in that creek.
So it's Candi Creek.
And so we named that creek Candi Creek, and then when we needed a name for our company, well, it just seemed like something that fit real good, you know. I guess we'll be saying goodbye with this tune, won't we? Here we go. Ready?
Well, yeah,
Washington
George,
and Lee Swing.
Thanks for being on the show. It was
My
real
pleasure.
nice to have you and visit your shop up there and everything.
Yep, it was real good to be here with you guys. I'm real proud of being here with y'all. It's a real honor. Thanks. Okay, here we go. Washington and Lee Swing, Flat and Scruggs. 1, 2, 3, 4.